In this statistics lesson, we will be discussing data classification. Our objectives today are to distinguish between qualitative and quantitative data, and how to classify data within respect to the 4 levels of measurement, which are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. We will discuss all 4 of those. All right, so let's start with our types of data. 2 types. Qualitative is the first. Qualitative means that you are giving a word. It's an attribute, like you have blonde hair, you have blue eyes, you have, gray eyes, so you're describing, you're giving that attribute, or a label of some sort. So like, what level of education do you have? I have an associate's, I have a bachelor's, I have a certification, I have a master's. Okay, again, it's a word. Or any non-numerical entry, like your place of birth. Not your date of birth, that would be numerical, but non-numerical, like your place of birth. So those are all qualitative. Sometimes this is called categorical data. It's the same thing, just depending on the textbook that you use. Right, there is also quantitative data. Quantitative is a number. It's a measurement or a count of some sort. So like how old you are, how much does this letter weigh, what is the temperature outside? Okay, these are all things that we can talk about in terms of numbers. All right, so first example. The table here shows sports-related head injuries treated in U.S. emergency rooms during a 5-year span for several different sports. Which data are qualitative and which data are quantitative? So notice that the sport is qualitative, right? It's a word. So that's our qualitative data, and it is matched with quantitative data, the number of head injuries that are treated in each. Right, so telling the difference between qualitative and quantitative is quite easy. And I don't think we really need any more examples because it's pretty straightforward, right? Qualitative, words, quantitative, numbers. Like quantity is a number, same thing. All right, but the more difficult part is giving that level of measurement. So let's go through the 4 different types, and then we'll do some examples. All right, nominal. If you are doing a nominal level of measurement, that means it is qualitative only. You are categorized its names or labels or qualities or something, and no mathematical computations of any kind can be given on this. So like if you asked people their favorite pizza topping, right? We can't talk about the mean pizza topping. We can't talk about the median pizza topping. So again, you won't be able to do anything with those as far as mathematics and computations go. All right, ordinal level of measurement. It can be qualitative or quantitative, depending. But the most important thing about it is that the data can be arranged in order, or it can be ranked. But the differences in the data aren't really meaningful. So I like to use letter grades is usually a good example, because they can be put in order, right? We know that A's are better than B's are better than C's, but how much better is an A than a B? Well, it depends on your A and depends on your B. So it can't really tell you the difference, because I might have had a 90 in the class, my friend had an 89, and I got an A and they got a B. But that same difference could have also been I had a 95 in the class and they had an 80, right? So again, we can put them in order and we can rank them, but the difference doesn't really mean anything. Another good example is like when they talk about like top ranked colleges, right? Harvard has the top ranked medical school in the country and Stanford is number 2. Okay, well, but how much better is Harvard? Are they like really close? Are they like, it's not even close? Like Harvard is just so much better. So that's the kind of thing that you have to think of with ordinal, that we can't put them in order, but the order doesn't really mean anything. I mean, we can't tell like the difference between those. All right, next we have interval. Interval will always be quantitative. The data definitely can be put in order, and the difference is meaningful. And the most important part of this one is that the 0 does represent a position on that scale. It's not inherently as the number 0, but there has to be a starting point of some sort. So it just, but 0 doesn't imply none. And again, this is, I think interval is one of the harder ones to figure out. And I'll give you some examples here in a little bit, so hang tight. Ratio is our last one. This is the one I like. It's very similar to interval, except there is an inherent zero. Like, I know when things begin, right? I know, like, if I'm talking about temperature, I know what 0 degrees means, right? We're starting on this scale. I know what 0 degrees Kelvin is. It's when all atoms cease to move. Okay, so we have an inherent zero, something that I know, and I think that's just because I come from a math and science background, why that one makes more sense. But like, if you go back to the interval one, so something like temperature wouldn't fit that description. Like years, I always like to talk about years. Like, I know the difference between the year 1776 and the year 1492. Like, I know the difference between those two. But is there a year 0, like, on our calendar? And there's really not. There's no year 0, oddly enough. So again, and I know that that I can order the years, so I know, like, especially on a timeline for history class, right? I can put them in order. But there's no 0 year. There's no beginning of time. That kind of thing. So I think interval is probably the most difficult to understand about where it's from. But I like ratio. Ratio, and again, you can compare the two numbers when you're talking about ratio. Like, if I ask if you want to take a class that's 50 minutes long or 100 minutes long, which one are you going to choose? Very straightforward, right? You're definitely going to choose a shorter class, right? Because you know that the ratio, like, one class is twice as long as the other one, and one class is half the length of the other one. So of course I want the shorter class. So you can express it as a multiple of the other one, which is another great example of that. So that's why I use the 50 and the 100-minute classes. All right, so rather than trying to get it all jumbled together, we'll just start simple and work our way up. All right, so for each set, tell whether the data is nominal or ordinal. So that's the only two choices, nominal or ordinal. So if you want to press pause, read these examples, and then make your decision. All right, here we go. So number 1. Okay, number 1, we are talking about the top 5 occupations with the most job growth. And this is all words. So is it nominal or is it ordinal? It's definitely ordinal, okay? We're just talking about jobs. I can't rank them. Like, is it better to be a software developer or a nurse? Like, I don't know. Like, that just depends on, your personal preference. I don't think either one job is better than the other. Like, I need all these people in this list, right, to make my life more comfortable. All right, and then number 2, then that would be our nominal. Notice they're all genres, but there's nothing I could do with these, right? I can't rank them, right? Because every person might rank them differently. I can put them alphabetically like they are now, but that's about it. But there's no computations or anything I can do with those. So that would be ordinal on the left, nominal on the right. All right, so here's 2 different sets of data. Which one is interval and which one is ratio? So go ahead and press pause and think about this for a second. All right, so let's start with the data on the left, which is the New York Yankees World Series victories. All right, notice their years, right? I can put them in order. They're all dates. But do their ratios make sense? Does the difference mean anything? No, it just means they won that year and didn't win the years that aren't listed. So this one would be interval. I can't really say one's better than the other. And the differences don't make any sense, right? Some years it's a 2-year gap. Some years they win back-to-back. Some years it was a long gap between the wins. So there's really no rhyme or reason. But if you look at the home run totals over on there, we can find the differences, right? I can say that Tampa Bay definitely had 20 more home runs than Seattle, right? You can find the differences. You can write ratios, like how much better, what percentage better, you can make you could start talking a lot about that. So here's a little chart to help you kind of summarize all 4 of these, which I think might help. So here are your 4 levels of measurement. So again, can you put the data in categories? All of them are yes. Can you range the data in order? Okay, this is the big one. So nominal is a no. Okay, so as you'll notice as you go down this chart, we can start getting more and more precise, and the ones at the top of the chart are less and less. They're more vague, right? So nominal, the only thing we can do is put the data in categories, and that's it. There's nothing else we can do. Okay, if it's ordinal, there's the list of things we can do. Interval, but notice to ratio, I get all yeses. I can do everything. I can do a lot more with ratio, which is why a lot of the times when you're working in statistics, you're going to have a lot more interval and ratio data just because there's more you can do with it. I also have a chart that summarizes these four, and it gives you some examples, which I think are helpful. So like here's some nominal, there's types of TV shows, but the only thing we can do with types of TV shows is just put them in a category, right? Are they a comedy? Are they a drama, right? So we can just put them in these nice little categories, but there's really nothing else we can do. Ordinal level, they give the example of motion picture ratings on movies. So like I can put them in order. Like I know I should definitely take my 5-year-old to go see a G movie, but I definitely should not take them to see an NC-17 movie. So again, we put them in order, and that order is meaningful. It means something to us. But how much worse is a PG movie than a G? Like, I think the average person doesn't know that. There actually are restrictions that they have on each and how many times they can use the F word to be a PG-13 versus an R. There's all kinds of rules. But the average person doesn't know those rules. All right, the next ones are intervals. So these are average monthly temperatures for Denver, Colorado for each month. Again, we can put them in order. We can find the differences between them. 0 degrees is just another measurement. It's not a 0, right? It could be 0 degrees. It could be negative 10 degrees in Denver. But 0 doesn't mean none. There always is going to be a temperature in Denver. So make sure that you don't confuse finding a 0 with actually having the number 0 as your data point. And then last but not least, we have ratio. Comes to rainfall, right? This is great. It's got a category. We can put it in order. There's differences. We can find a ratio. Like this month had twice as much, rain as last month. So these are all things that you can think about. I think most people find that these 4 levels probably give them the most grief. And I know personally that I mess up interval all the time. So I'll be honest about that. I'm very biased against the interval level. But again, you may not have any problem with it. I don't know. So again, go practice. Again, if you need a little bit more on this, don't be afraid to go on YouTube and just type in levels of measurement statistics, and a bunch of videos will come up that might different examples for you to see different things. So again, don't be afraid to research some of this if you're still finding gaps in your learning. All right, well, thank you for coming, and we will see you next time when we talk about our next statistics topic.